All right, so here we go. Hey everybody, this is Chad Jordan from the Sport Clips Hall of Fame podcast. This is another edition, and we are extremely excited for today's episode because we have a living legend in the Sport Clips world. A dear friend of mine, the man who got me into Wrigley Field for the first time, and there's a reason I keep coming back to Chicago. It's this guy right here. So we're gonna take a kind of tour of some Sport Clips stuff, history, the culture, things that we've seen change over the years, and this guy's been a major reason why, major influence on our entire brand. So without further ado, you know what I'm going to do, John? I'm going to have you introduce yourself, your role, what you do, all that good stuff. So my guest today is
John Kohler. Thank you, Chad. Appreciate you having me on this podcast. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm the area developer for Michigan, Illinois, and Eastern Missouri. Essentially, my team and I provide services to support 172 stores in the region.
not just 172, but this is 172 of the best stores. If you were to do a look at the map of all the Sport Clips locations across the country and Canada, John Kohler's territory happens to be one of the best, and it's no accident why. It's no secret why. It's he and his team. I know he's going to talk a lot about his team and how amazing they are, but we really want to get to the bottom, John, of what are you doing here? How long have you been here? What got you here? I want to pick your brain a little bit, because there's future generations of people like you that can learn from what you've experienced and what you've kind of the foundation that you've laid. So can you give me just kind of let's start with one thing I'm interested in. What's a day in the life of John Kohler at Sport Clips? What does that look like right now?
Well, I get up, Chad, and I take a shower, and I head out to I live in the city itself, so I head out to the suburbs and spend a fair amount of time doing franchise sales. So that's my role in my organization, is franchise sales. So essentially, that's what I do.
And what encompasses that role? How do you sell a franchise, a Sport Clips franchise?
Well, the first
you
step
don't go knocking on doors.
No, actually we do in an indirect way.
Okay.
I just finished a mailing for Michigan where we sent out 5,700 letters to owners of businesses that owned small businesses. So figuring they would want to expand their portfolio, we thought that would be a good approach. In fact, I've had a few phone calls as a result of the mailing.
Yeah.
But essentially, we do knock on doors in that respect. And then what we do is we make phone calls. We have a phone call interview. We then have a face-to-face interview at a store, and then we take the opportunity to bring them into my offices so they can meet my team. Because that's really what this is all about. At the end of the day, the success of my region is based on the 14 employees that have been a critical part of my business. And I've got an average tenure of 6.5 years for each employee. So we've got a good seasoned team of people.
So you didn't start with 14 employees back in. When did you start? When did you?
It's kind of an interesting story.
Yeah.
Let me give you a little background.
Please.
I spent 31 years in corporate America. 11 years with Northrop Grumman in Defense Electronics. I've got a double E, and I spent 20 years in telecommunications with a company called Labs. I was one of their senior executives. I had over 4,000 employees in my organization, and from 2000 to 2002, 2003, I laid off 3,800 of them.
Oh, so that gets old fast.
Very fast. In fact, I tell you, laying off one person or laying off 3,800 matters little. So I laid off these people, but finally at some point I just couldn't do it anymore, so I took an early retirement. When I went out and looked at it, I putzed around for a while, and a very good friend of mine said, take this seminar, franchising could be your future. I didn't want to go. It was painful because I didn't want to make Subway sandwiches.
Right.
So I went because he's a good friend of mine, and it made a lot of sense. The seminar actually hit home, and there was a business broker there that Jerry Moriarty, who took me under his wing, and he said, I'm going to show you 7 different concepts. And I honed in on Sport Clips for the following reason. It's cash-based. Everybody needs a haircut. But after laying off 3,800 people and moving manufacturing to China and Mexico, I knew that they couldn't move this,
Right.
this
You
concept
had
of
to-
China
yeah,
and Mexico.
right.
So I jumped on it like a ton of bricks. And it's the best decision I ever made. I was 52 years old at the time, and I only wish I would have started sooner.
And what year is this?
2004.
Okay.
I signed my first agreement
Okay.
in 2004. The way the evolution of my region developed was in 2004, June 29th of 2004, I signed my first agreement for Northern Illinois. I then bought the rights to Southern Illinois, Eastern Missouri in August of 2007. In November 2011, I bought the rights to Michigan, Western Michigan, and then finally in December 2016, I bought the rights to Eastern Michigan.
And how many, let's see, 2004, so...
There were 2 stores in my region.
Okay, and there were how many in the country?
143.
Okay, so you have almost as many now in your
more.
region, than what we had in the country when you started.
It's an amazing, when you reflect back on it, it's
Uh-huh.
amazing to think that you've grown this brand this much. And so there's locations that I drive past and I think to myself, I remember when we put that one in.
Mhm.
It just
They're like babies, right? You know,
exactly, just like babies.
Speaking of which, you have a grandbaby.
I do.
Now, do we want to go and give her a shout out so when she listens to this down the road, she hears her grandpa's voice?
Alexandria Sophia Kohler.
Okay. And what is she going to call you? Have you figured that part out yet?
Yes, she's going to call me Grandpa.
Okay, Grandpa. All right. My parents are Poppy. You know, Poppy and Nene, Grammy and then Nene and all that. So
It's kind of funny when I was young growing up. My Grandpa Kohler was old, and now I just realized she's going to look up to me and say, "You're old."
Same thing, exactly. That's you're only as old as you feel. So you have 140 some in your region now. That's
172.
about 172. I'm sorry. You have more than what was the 143 that were.
The day I signed, we had 143 stores.
Tremendous. And but you didn't start with 14 people. So how did you get things going in this region? And no one knew what a sports clips was or anything like that. So how did you break in?
One of the things that I've always been adept to, because I've been successful in my business career, is you can't do it alone.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, your success is driven by the success of the organization you create. And when I was at Tell Labs, I had probably one of the best manufacturing organizations on the earth. And so I knew that if I was going to be successful at Sport Clips, I wasn't going to do it alone. So I started to build an organization. And we started off with 2, and then 3, and then 4, and then 5, and then 6, and so on and so on and so on.
What kind of people do you look for in your organization?
Well, there's really 2 types. There's operation coaches, which there's people like Matt Campbell, who's my director of new store development. Nina Dietrich, who's my director of operations. I look for people that have talent, that have the capability and the willingness to extend themselves. This is not a 9-to-5 job.
Mm-hmm.
This is a 24/7 kind of job.
Yeah, and not a 9-to-5 desk job where they're assigned to the same place every day, right? I mean, they're kind of out and all over.
In fact, the coaches, we have 9 area coaches that are out on the street every day doing something, and there's a lot of trust that I put in those people.
Yeah. So what kind of insight, oversight, team meetings? What are you doing to kind of keep the team together and check in on each other?
Every year we have a planning meeting that we gather together, the group, all the coaches, all 14 employees. We put together a business plan. We vet that business plan with Gordon. We go and meet with him, and then we have quarterly business reviews. The second Monday of every quarter, we have a business review with all 14 employees, and we go over where we're at, where we're going, and what do we need to change, what kind of mid-course corrections. In addition to that, I have a weekly staff meeting.
What do you do now that you wish you would have done earlier?
That's a great question. I think it's kind of interesting when you graduate from corporate America, you think you know everything.
Yeah.
And you've got great ideas about what you'd like to do and how you'd like to do it. I think this is one of the themes that I've always pushed with my team leaders and future team leaders. And when they ask me what is the most important aspect of this business, it's really this simple: follow the system. Gordon Logan, the guy with the cowboy hat, has made all the mistakes, and he made those mistakes, and he wants us not to make them again.
Right. Yeah.
And I think if I would have followed the system more closely in the very beginning, it would have been a much easier task.
Were you in those moments, if you can reflect and think back to when you didn't follow the system, was it because you thought you had invented a better mousetrap, or you just wanted to spread your wings a little bit? What were the reasons?
I think there's an element of everybody that's creative. And
Yeah.
you like to take that creative element and apply it to the business.
Right.
And again, it goes back to this guy's made all the mistakes. Why
Yeah.
should you repeat them?
Yeah. Yeah, and with all the creativity in the world at his fingertips as well, so that definitely makes sense. Can you give me insight into what some of those early challenges were when you were starting out? There were only 2 stores in location. Nobody knew Sport Clips, really what Sport Clips was all about. What were some of the early struggles that you had to overcome?
Well, you walk into a restaurant to meet a client because they didn't have an office at the time, and you walk in and they go, "Sport Clips, you must be selling memorabilia."
Right. Yeah, like sports.
Sports memorabilia.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, people had no clue about what
Yeah.
we were. Our ad fund for Northern Illinois at the time was $60,000. That's it. And I remember we went to MQ&C. I can't forget the gentleman's name who ran in MQ&C, but essentially we went in on a deal with the Chicago White Sox to have bathroom ads in front of the urinals. I wouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
That's a very
Another
bad
lesson
idea.
learned.
So, stuff like that. Now today we've got $1.4 million and we've got a sophisticated ad program
For your region.
just Northern Illinois.
Yeah.
Just
This area.
just this area,
Right.
just the area we're sitting in right now. And we've got a sophisticated organization. We've got an incredible team in Georgetown with Daniel Linden and Martha
Yeah.
England. We didn't have that back in 2004.
Right.
And we've got a efficiency media, which is our media buying group. I mean, our marketing program is so much advanced and more sophisticated than it was in 2004.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
And you're not just saying that because I am from the marketing department, so I appreciate the shout out to Martha and Danielle. What about, you mentioned something that you wouldn't do again marketing wise. What are some things that are working for you right now in 2019?
I think there's all components or elements of the marketing plan, because we have what we call Media Day in September, and I think it's September 29th this year. We invite all of our, Amy Abrams from Efficiency Media invites all of the participants, the cable guys, the radio guys, the digital media guys, invites them to my offices, and we actually go over what ideas we have, etc. And we put together a plan for the next year. Now, one of the things that's working for us really, really well is our field marketing coordinator. We have a dedicated field marketing coordinator that's paid for out of the ad budget that spends all of her time doing event media, going to the Schaumburg Boomers, Chicago Wolves, etc. And it's been very effective at getting our brand out there.
And when they go, what do they do?
Pass out koozies.
Okay.
One of my favorite things to do is beer fests.
Oh yeah, please explain.
Beer fests
or...
are really incredible. We do about 5 beer fests.
Okay.
So these are craft brewers that display their wares throughout the Chicago metropolitan area. And essentially what they do is we have a booth there with 5.5-ounce koozies.
Okay.
That fit perfectly on these little beer sampling. And we are the most popular table in the bunch. But my field marketing coordinator assembles those events, coordinates them, and actually delivers on them.
And you get stylists from other stores to go and help support.
We do.
Okay.
We do.
When they do that, are they paid? The stylists, are they paid for the day? Is this something they're doing out of the kindness of their heart? How does that work?
I'd love to believe that everybody would want to do things out of the kindness of their heart, but we do compensate them.
Okay.
If it's a City of Chicago event, we pay them $150 for the event. That covers their parking, their meals, that covers all of their time, etc. If it's a suburban event, because the parking's a little cheaper, a little less expensive, it's $125.
And that's got to be one of the challenges for your region. This part of your region, anyways, is the City of Chicago, which I love, very fond of, especially anything to do with the Chicago Cubs. But getting into town is not easy. Living in town is not easy. So, had you anticipated some of the challenges around staffing and recruiting and all of that back in the day, or is this kind of something that we're seeing more and more now that the city's
It's kind of interesting. You bring up a good point, and that is, what were some of the challenges I saw then, and how
Yeah.
did it change today?
Yep.
When I first bought the rights to Northern Illinois, I never thought for the life of me that we'd be doing things in Decatur, Illinois, Champaign-Urbana, and Springfield. I thought the rural markets were going to be non-existent.
Right.
And I thought the Chicago market was going to be the hottest thing since sliced bread. It's actually turned out to be the inverse.
Yeah.
The rural markets are incredible.
Yes.
Lower competition, more stylist availability. The rural markets tend to be a real gold mine.
And the lease spacing is not at the square
Not as
footage.
challenging.
Yes.
Not as challenging. Whereas the urban market is much more challenging. It's a higher cost of living, so you have a more difficult time in staffing your stores. The rents are a little higher. Your price points are going to be a little bit higher as a result of that.
Mm-hmm.
And the suburban markets are the suburban markets. They are what they are.
Yeah. One of the things I'm interested in, especially when I talk to someone, I mean, you've been here. You said 2004.
June 29th, 2004.
Okay.
I'll never forget that day.
That's a great day. It's my grandma's birthday, June 29th. Yeah, Grandma May. So 15 years later, now that you're here, can you give me some of the highlights over the years, maybe the huddles, stories of Gordon? Like what are some of your favorite memories through the years here at Sport Clips?
I think when we opened our 100th store, that was a
Okay.
big achievement. I'll never forget that.
Where was that?
Champaign,
Okay.
Champaign, Illinois. We actually went down there with a tent, and we had a sign out in front of it. The sad thing is nobody else was there with us. It was just us. And
No.
it was fun.
Was it rainy? I mean,
No, it was actually a beautiful day. It
Okay.
was sunny. It was a wonderful day,
Yeah.
and that was a big milestone for me. We've got a wall of trophies that extend. I've got 3 leadership trophies that extend across the front of my front wall as you enter into my offices, and I'm very proud of all those trophies.
What are they for? What are the trophies?
Things
for?
like most licenses sold, most stores open, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So.
Favorite huddle memory ever?
I love San Antonio, Texas.
Okay.
I'm really looking
Where
forward
we're
to
going
San Antonio.
2020,
You
yeah,
bet.
and 21, I believe.
And I'm
yeah.
looking forward to Nashville as well. But
Because you like country music, or I mean, what about San Antonio?
I just like the vibe,
Yeah.
the Riverwalk, the hotels, the restaurants.
The openness. It's not like Vegas where you pretty
You don't
much
feel
need to
like
stay
you're being
inside.
cattle carted into
Yeah.
a restaurant.
Yeah. And you are on stage quite a bit, either receiving awards or usually doing something with the Wayne McGlone Fund, which I know is near and dear to your heart. Can you tell me a little bit about the Wayne McGlone Memorial Relief Fund and why that means so much to you?
Yeah, Wayne was a very close friend of
Okay.
mine. When he passed away, it was a big impact because I'd literally just talked to him 3 days prior to his passing, and he was telling me about his cardiologist and how he got a clean bill of health, and it was really a shock to see him passing.
What did he pass? Was it a heart attack?
It was a cardiac event, I think is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
But Wayne was very close to me, and then Gordon had set up the Wayne McGlone Fund, and it's always been a major part of my life. I've donated a fair amount of money to it.
Yeah.
And it means a lot, and it means a lot to the people that benefit from it. I've had a young lady in my office. Her husband had a aortic aneurysm and nearly lost his life. But when you have an airlift, a helicopter ride from Shanahan, Illinois to Loyola University, I won't go into how much
That's
it
not
costs,
free.
but it's not free. and
No
the Wayne
kidding.
McGlone Fund made a dent in paying for some of the bills that she encountered. And you know, you think about the hurricane situations that have occurred in Texas and some of the other
In
events
Florida
around the country.
last year, I think one of Johnny Weber's stores, if
Yes.
I remember right. Yeah.
And so you think about the impact. It was genius for Gordon to set that up because it's just made such an impact on people's lives.
Yeah. Now, you, a few years ago, were diagnosed with Parkinson's, right?
October of 2016.
Okay, you and dates, you are just as sharp as a tack. So,
Thank God I'm still sharp.
you are. You're sharp, and I'm just going to say this isn't really part of the podcast, but John Kohler is so well respected around Sport Clips. He's on a level like Gordon Logan, and he doesn't know this because he's not at headquarters as often as as some of us, but his name, when it gets spoken of, is spoken reverently. He is a living legend and could not be more well thought of or well loved. And so, tell me a little bit.
I appreciate that.
Well, it's all true, and that's why I've been itching to get you on here, just because we love you so much. But can you walk me through the Parkinson's diagnosis? Was it out of left field? How has your life changed
In
since?
the summer of 2016, I noticed a twitch in my left thumb.
Okay.
It was just a twitch. But because my father-in-law had passed away as a result of Parkinson's, my wife was noticing it. And she made a comment several times, so I finally said, fine, I'll go to the doctor.
Yeah, uncle, right.
You know, I give up, I'll go,
yeah.
you know, because it's just a twitch, you know, it was not even noticeable. And so I went to the doctor, I did a couple of tests. It took about 15 minutes. He looked at me and he said, "You've got Parkinson's, which is a lack of dopamine being produced in your brain, which creates what's called a movement disorder."
And he did this. There was no blood work. I mean,
No. This thing took about 15 minutes, and so, you know, naturally being the analytic that I am,
right.
I said, "This is bullshit." I'm going to find out the truth. So I decided to go to.
It's a setup.
So I decided to go to some of the best institutions in the earth. So I went to University of Chicago. I went to Northwestern University, and then I finally went to Mayo Clinic. They all said the same thing. You got Parkinson's.
You keep looking for a second, a third, fourth opinion.
So I realized I got Parkinson's.
Right.
There's not much they can do about it. There's not a lot of options. So they've got me on a dopamine activator that kind of stimulates dopamine production. But eventually I'll go on what's called the dopamine replacement program, and a little heavier drugs. But they can treat it with drugs for the most part.
Well, I mean, I so let's see, it's 2019. This was 2016 you got diagnosed. I started at Sport Clips 2015. I feel like you're sharper than ever. So have you noticed anything in over the last 3 years? You know, are you still slinging 100-mile-an-hour curve? You know, fastball, or you feel like
physically I have some limitations. Putting my socks on in the morning is a challenge. But cognitively, I've been tested, and there's been no sign of any slippage, and etc. So, you know, I feel pretty good that way. But I'm 66 years old. I'll be 67 in December. Some of that's going to, you know, things like bad knees, etc.
Right.
You'll appreciate that when you get older.
I'm getting there. Trust me. So
people have asked me. They said, "Well, when are you going to retire?" I love what I do. I truly love what I do, and I love the people that I work with. If I had to retire, I think it'd kill me.
Yeah. Well, it's like was Bear Bryant and Joe Paterno and all these coaches that they coach into their 80s or whatever, and then retire, and that's the last we hear of them really physically. So it does keep you sharp, and you got such a great team around you. It feels like it's a well-oiled machine at this point.
I'm so confident in my team. I know they've got my back, and I've got theirs. They'll run through brick walls for me, and I'll run through a brick wall for them, and that's the way, the kind of respect that we've got for each other.
What do you see on the horizon for your team, for this market?
The big challenge we're facing, the big challenge that we're all facing, is availability of stylists. If I had an extra stylist in each one of my stores, our client count would be up another 5.6%. Bottom line is, we've got those challenges. If we can solve that, we win the war. We beat the competition. We've got to become the employer of choice. We've got to have a line of people outside our doors that want to work for Sport Clips.
And it seems that in this area, and I visited 6 stores yesterday. Last time I was here for leadership, I visited a number of stores. I really feel like you guys are doing a great job culturally, getting stylists fired up about working at Sport Clips. It feels like they enjoy it. Have you sensed kind of a tipping point for culture in this region where stylists feel like this is a family and team members want to stay long term?
In 2006, 7, 8, 9, when we had the Great Recession and the economy was on the brink of disaster, we didn't have nearly the challenge of hiring as that we have today. When you've got full employment and you've got alternate, people say, "Well, what about the minimum wage?" I don't care about the minimum wage. The minimum wage is whatever people are willing to pay. I've got a young lady who went to work for a dental office, and went to work for $19 an hour. And I said to her, I said, "You're making $26 an hour with tips." She looked at me, she said, "But I'm getting Saturdays and Sundays off."
Yeah.
And it's more about work-life balance than it is about money. So what we've got to do is find a way to help these young people to get a work-life balance, because many of them are single mothers, et cetera, and they've got kids and they've got to have time for their families.
I agree there. Favorite part of your job is what?
Interfacing with people. I love people. I love going to the stores. I love interacting with the teams. I just love people.
Yeah. What about some team member interactions that you've had over years? Are there any doozies? Are there any ones that really stick out because they're sentimental?
I used to I say used to because I don't do it nearly as much anymore. I used to really enjoy getting up in front of people and doing leaderships. I can't do that anymore. One of the side effects of my Parkinson's is I have a hard time standing in front of groups of people. I get very introverted. I was a big extrovert.
Sound like you, yeah.
I'm still a big extrovert in a way, but I still have a hard time standing up in front of people.
Is it a self-conscious thing, or
Yes.
is okay?
Very definitely.
Even in a situation where you're beloved, everybody's on your side, it's still something that you...
Very hard.
Yeah.
Very hard. But I love doing leaderships.
Yeah. I love coming and doing your leaderships. You've got, like I said...
And I can drive the car.
Yeah. So the very first time I get picked up, this is for, this story, but it was in June of this year. And of course, I know that you have Parkinson's. I love you dearly, and I planned on spending the day with you. We were going from Detroit to Lansing, I think.
We were going from Lansing to Chicago.
Oh, Lansing to Chicago, and I get in the car, and Megan Minas is with us, and I figured, well, she'd be doing the driving. John's he's got some physical challenges or whatever. No, I get in the car. He's the one driving, but that's fine. Megan graciously, now looking back, I realize selfishly decides she'll take the back seat. I'll take the front seat. So I get in the car. We are 5 minutes into this ride and having to get on the freeway, and it's one of those on-ramps where you got to merge into traffic, and John decides he's just going to floor it. There's semi trucks.
The semi was overtaking.
Yeah. There was a semi coming right on to the left of us, and John just has to make this executive decision. Is he going to just kind of ease into it and get behind this guy and just kind of get on the freeway, or is he going to gun it, throw my life at risk, and give me the ride of a lifetime? Of course, he opts for that, and I immediately needed to pull over. We had to get into my suitcase for a change of pants for me, but that pretty much set the tone.
It was perfectly safe.
There were airbags that could have been deployed if they were needed, but that's the thing I love about John. He's a risk taker. He's someone that doesn't throw caution to the wind. How about a calculated risk taker? You've certainly been that over your career.
It's kind of funny when you talk about road trips. Those are some of the most memorable. If you think about my region, you got Chicago to Detroit, Chicago to St. Louis.
Yes.
It's about 4.5 hours,
each
5 hours
yeah.
each way. And people ask, do you fly to those locations? No, you don't fly. If you fly, you're going to end up spending 4.5 hours just getting to and from the airport, security, etc. So we drive, and we made many memorable road trips. Some real white knuckle winter ones too.
Oh, I can imagine. Oh gosh, here in the winter. So anytime I visit, just know it'll be May to October-ish. So learn my lesson there a time or two. I've had some good times with some windshield time, as Daryl Mobley used to call it, with some of the folks around the country. You certainly being one of them. Well, more than anything, I got some fun questions here I want to get to. Again, this is...
I can't wait.
This was just a treat. I just wanted to make sure we got you. I want... How about this? When How about Alex Kohler? Well, is it Kohler's her last name? Yes.
Alexandria.
But don't you call her Alex?
I call her Alex.
Okay.
Yes.
Maybe she's the future AD of this region. So what advice are you going to give when she goes back and listens to this? What advice do you want to leave her with on how to do a great job?
Do what you love. I've always done that with my kids. I've told them, don't do something just because I did it. Do something you love. My kids have done all their own things, and they're very happy and settled and etc. But the same advice I give my granddaughter is the same advice I give everybody, and that is, what you got passion in your heart for, do it.
Yeah, I love that. I love you, John. So here's what we're going to do. These are 10 kind of fun questions. There's no wrong answer, and I don't do follow-ups. You know, I'm not going to do a deep dive into these. You're just going to tell me what the first thing that is on your mind on these. All right? Ready?
Go ahead, I'm ready.
Number one. If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Oh my gosh.
We just talked about. I think I know the answer, but
read minds.
Read minds? Oh, see, I was gonna say flying because it would save on all the driving you have to do between reading.
See, here's why I read minds.
Okay.
I'm dealing with team leaders every day.
Oh,
it would be wonderful to probe into what's going on in their minds.
What they're really thinking too about you.
And I love my team leaders. I want to make that
of
clear.
Course, yes. For the record, of course. Okay. Well, you might have just said this, but just in case, what is your personal motto?
Do what you love.
I think so. Yeah, I think you just said it. So
I really emphasize that. It's kind of interesting. I've coached a lot of people throughout my life, and I love these people that whine and gripe and complain. I said, you're the CEO of your own company. No matter what you are, you're CEO. My daughter, especially, I've helped her out a lot.
Yeah.
So you're CEO Kohler. Make decisions for Kohler Inc.
Yeah, I like that. Do what you love. All right, if you could pick anywhere else in the world, I know you love your Chicago land, but if you could pick anywhere else in the world to live, where would that be?
Austin, Texas.
Oh, really? Okay, so you get
Texas.
more done, or just because, yeah?
No, I love Texas for a lot of reasons. One, I like the cosmopolitan nature of it. The Texas atmosphere, the people in Texas are friendly and fun, and there's no state in
Yeah, I was gonna say that too if you didn't get to it. Yes, or Florida. You could Texas or Florida.
Florida's got a problem. If the glaciers do melt,
yeah, right. It's underwater.
Wet. Texas is a safe bet.
That's true. Okay, what sound or noise do you love?
I like all kinds of music, so there's no.
Well, then why do you listen to talk radio on these 4.5-hour trips everywhere you go if you love music so much?
I don't just listen to any talk radio. I listen to Fox News.
Yeah, okay, all right. I'm going to have to cut that out now for all the liberals listening to this. Just kidding. All right, what sound...
I'm very balanced. I listen to CNN too.
Okay, all right. Get that in there. What sound or noise do you hate?
I hate fingernails on a blackboard.
Okay,
I really do.
Yeah, that's up there. What would you consider, number 6, what would you consider your greatest achievement?
My 4 kids.
Wow.
And believe me, throughout their life, my oldest is 40, my youngest is 31. I've got 3 boys and my daughter.
Your spoiled daughter, I mean your daughter.
She was the youngest.
No, oh my gosh, baby girl.
We went through many challenges throughout those years.
Yeah.
But they all survived, and I'm really proud of that.
Yeah, and now you've got another generation with your granddaughter. Okay, these are kind of 3 fun ones, and then one kind of serious one to finish. All right, the first, this is question number 7, but the first of these fun ones. All right, if, let's not say if, when they make a movie based on your life story, who do you want to play the lead role? What actor?
Jack Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson. Okay, all right.
I love Jack.
Yeah, he'd be perfect. I could see him pulling this off, definitely. In that movie, you get to pick the band that does the soundtrack. What band does it?
Aerosmith.
Oh, look at you. All right. And then the movie has to have a title, of course. You get to pick the title. What do you call this movie, the story of your life?
I have no clue. That is a great question.
They're supposed to make you think. You know, if you're
Don't make me
skipping
think too hard this morning.
how about that? How about that question? Don't. That's the title. Don't make me think too hard this morning. That sounds like a bestseller. All right, last question. If heaven indeed exists, what do you hope to hear from God when you walk through the pearly gates?
Welcome.
Ah, yes. Come on in.
Yeah, I don't want to have to go through any special process.
Well, let me pull up your file real quick.
Exactly.
Just check. There's some uncertainty. No, I don't think you have anything to worry
Well,
about.
it's kind of interesting. My mother's 95 years old, and she's
Wow.
got terminal cancer, and she's made the choice in life to go on into the next life. And she's the Maximus Catholic, so I'm convinced she's got a ticket.
Yes.
So I'm hoping she can be.
She'll be waiting there with you. Yeah. Oh, I vouch for him, right?
Exactly. Simplify the process.
Oh, well, that's sweet. Yeah. Well, speaking of sweet, this time has been precious. It's flown by. I more than anything, like I said earlier, I needed to get you on this because this is called the Hall of Fame podcast, and I couldn't think of anyone better qualified to be a Hall of Famer than you.
Chad. I appreciate that.
We love you. This is really from the heart of Sport Clips back to you. We are excited about what you've already done, but also what the future holds in store for this region and this 170 plus stores. They wouldn't be here without you. So, and certainly Sport Clips wouldn't have advanced as far as it is without you.
It's been a fun ride.
Yeah, it has been. So thank you for being such a big part of it. And thank you everybody for listening. As you could tell, this is quite the man, and he was a perfect guest today. So thank you again, John.
You're welcome.
And,
Thank you.
And we'll have a new episode for you guys next week. Thanks so much.